What do we got here from Valuetainment? Why men live harder lives than women. Switch it up. Get some stats and numbers going.
Men live a harder life than women, and I got data here to show you. Now, obviously, this upsets a lot of different people saying, Pat, how could you say something like that? Blanket statement, men live a harder life than women? Yes. Brace for impact, whether you're going to like it or not. Wait till the end. If you do get value out of this, and you say, this is kind of a good point he's making, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If not, go watch a different video, okay? So let's get right into it. So based on a research done, DNA research by Dr. Baumeister, he explains that in today's human population is descended from twice as many women as men. Now, what does this mean? In the history of mankind, 80% of women have reproduced and have had kids. Only 40% of men have ever reproduced. So 80% women, 40% men. What does this mean?
That's so crazy to think about. 60% of men that have walked this earth die without ever reproducing. When seeing that cringe Twitch video, you can see why that's a thing. It almost makes you lose all the pity and the empathy you would have for them when you see those Reddit/Discord mod types from the cringe TwitchCon videos. Like when you see that and you would think like it's easier on average for men to be those guys. There are far more simps than there are real men today. It makes sense. It makes complete sense.
That means 4 out of 5 women reproduce, only 2 out of 5 men reproduce. Now, why is this? So when we were looking at this thing here, we said, let's look at data. Let's look at some of the stuff that we have access to right now. It could be Tinder. And then let's look at what women look for in men in a short-term relationship and what women look for in men in long-term relationship. And then you get to make a decision for yourself on how to increase your market value. So according to Tinder, this is what you get on how many women swipe right versus how many men swipe.
Someone said, okay, but early times were harder than today, plus you died at 25. That's not true. Nobody died. That whole people only lived to 25 is such a myth. Most people made it to old age. I shouldn't say most people. If you got past disease and war and things like that were unnatural, a person naturally lived into their 60s, 70s, 80s, shit like that. There wasn't this stupid thing where we just all passed away early, 25, 30, didn't go past that. No, it's just a ton of disease, a ton of war, accidents, things of that nature that shortened your lifespan. Assuming none of that happens and you had a peaceful little life going, you lived as old as people live today. And I would argue it's even harder today because of the choices women have globally. Back then, you would reproduce, you would get a woman out of necessity to live with your own land that you basically lived off of. Now, I would say it's much harder because women earn their own money. They don't need men anymore. So now they could be picky. Women are far more choosy today. So why would she waste her genes on a bug sandwich? She'd rather die alone with a cat. It's her prerogative, that's fine. But that statistic, I think, probably is going to get worse and worse and worse, where women would only quite literally settle for the top percentile man or go into a sperm bank and get artificially inseminated. Yeah. I think we're going into a radical direction where a small sliver of men are going to command the reproductive cycle. I don't know how healthy that's going to be, but we're on the verge of a population collapse. I know the WEF bug sandwiches talk about overpopulation and carbon taxes, and we need to lower it to save the planet, all that stuff. But from what I'm seeing in the West, and you could look at Japan and see what's happening with them, I think we're headed towards a collapse in population potentially. We're barely surviving through immigration from the South here in America. If honestly the borders were closed completely and people weren't allowed in, we would have a negative birth rate.
Right. If you've never been on Tinder, like I've never been on Tinder, swiping right means you're interested in this person. Swiping left is, I don't have any interest. When it comes down to men swipe right 53% of the time. That means they're interested.
Yeah, high infant mortality is why the average lifespan was smaller back in the day, indeed.
57% of the time they say, nope, I'm not interested. However, for women, you ready? Ladies, this is you now. Okay, this represents your number according to Tinder. You ready? Women only swipe right 5% of the time. 95% of the time, you say, I am not interested, swipe left. Hey.
Love that. Remember I told you guys it's the 95-5 rule now? And of those 5% that gets a yes swipe, I believe only 2% successfully go on the date. So that means it's really, when it's down to being successful, 98-2. That means only the top 2% of men are succeeding on dating apps. The Pareto principle of 80-20 is done for.
Rejection to the man. So if you're a guy watching this and saying, Pat, I'm on these dating apps and I gotta tell you, this absolutely sucks because I'm trying to get a relationship. Well, let me give you some more bad news before we go tell you how to measure short-term and long-term value. We found this chart showing in the attractiveness of how attractive you are in the women category, like are you in the 80 percentile, 10 percentile, 90 percentile, how many men are still interested in a woman that's this percentile of attractiveness. So it's a little bit of a crazy chart, but I'm gonna put it up and we'll go through this together. So here's what it is. If you look at the chart, you see the female advantage to male advantage, right? On the left, it says male attractiveness percentile, right? On the bottom, it says female attractiveness percentile. So let's look at the left.
Yeah, that's a beautiful chart. Basically, women in all percentages have an insane advantage over men, except when you're a 100 male. When you're a stud. This is like, think of animals. Think of people raising animals. What's more expensive, the female or the male? So you stud or you got a good mare. The stud earns you far more money. You can sell the sperm from the stud to the male. Anybody knows the male bull, super expensive, is a cash cow, pun intended. As opposed to having like a female that's top quality that can only breed every once in a while, potentially loses the litter or whatever. Stud males, period. Even in dogs, think about dogs. When breeders have dogs, it's the stud males that command all the money. Same thing with men. When you're a 100 man, when you've been genetically blessed, look at the advantage. And the advantage goes to the tip here. Even when you have a near 100 advantage woman and you have a 100 advantage man, he's still at the top. Once you become the stud, game over.
You are in the top 20% of male attractiveness. You have only available to you roughly 20% of women that you can compete for, okay?
Yeah, that's another way to look at the chart. It takes a man to be in the 80 percentile just to start getting women in the 20 to 40 percentile. You see what I mean? It takes a 80 percentile attractive man to finally start getting a 20 to 40. And then once you get into these numbers here, that's when you start unlocking the 60, 80, and the 100 females. Yeah, that's the game. It's brutal, but men at the top reign supreme.
Of women that you can compete for, okay? Now, for women, if you're in the bottom 20% of attractiveness, you still have access to 80% of men that would be interested in you. Of course, if you're in 100%, it's 100%, okay? You're the best looking guy, you're like a Brad Pitt or you're a Rachel McAdams, everybody is interested, you're at the 100 percentile, right? So if you look at this, it's quite depressing because if you're in the bottom 20% of men in attractiveness,
you get nothing.
If you look how small that is, you're only dealing with 2 to 3% of women. That means
you're getting the absolute ogres, the ones that hurt your eyeballs to look at. That's all you're getting. If you're the male at the bottom, you're more than likely probably dying alone because the ogre is still going to get a guy probably in the 30th percentile.
And in every 50 women, that's your pool on who to choose from. So you may watch this and say, Pat, is this supposed to be a Motivation Monday video? There's nothing motivational about this. I totally get it. But you're either going to watch this and you're going to say, screw these stats. I'm going to go have some more chips and cheesecake and quit my job and sit here and play video games all day. Or you're going to say, I better get my act together. So what are women looking for short term and what are women looking for long term? Let's look at the data. Women looking for short term relationship versus long term relationship.
And before anybody gets sad in the comments, just know money's the great equalizer. So if you don't have attraction as a guy, but you get really deep pockets, you get some fame in society, you become known for something. Maybe it's your work or your business. You become proficient in something. Maybe you learn how to play a guitar and sing, whatever it is, right? If you become exceptional in something in society, you will bypass that percentile. It's like a cheat code, either rich or exceptional in something that gains you notoriety and fame. You bypass the chart. That's one of the secrets to the game. So guys here that may not have the best genetics, maybe you're 5'4", maybe you're whatever, maybe you got pimples on your face, maybe you got a bug sandwich body build, things like that. You need to start working out and you need to start getting your money up or become extremely proficient in something to the point where you become known for it somewhere around the world. That's the guy.
relationship on 6 different criterias. 1 is looks, 1 is resources, meaning how much money, success you have. 3 is your game, 4 is your personality, 5 is your status, and 6 is your age. Looks is 35% of decision-making process. Resources is only 6%. Game is 30%. That's the second most. Personality is 9%. Status is 13%.
Yeah, this, for short term, this makes perfect sense. The vast majority is looks and game. How smooth are you? How hot are you? Are you saying the right things to get the tingles going? That's it. That's all it is. That's the short term. The rest of this stuff is just like the cherry on top bonuses. You need to have no resources. Your personality can suck. Your status could be absolute garbage. As long as you have attraction and game, you're getting it in. And mostly these guys, the short termers, can steal the long termers. These are the married men here that probably have very little looks, very little game. And when she's trying to step out of a relationship, this is why she looks for these looks and game. The husband or the long-term beta Bob has the resources, personality, aka he's a nice guy that respects me, status, he's a stable provider.
And an age, whatever, 7%. Now, if they're looking for a long-term relationship, priorities change. When it comes down to looks, it drops from 35% to 15%.
See, settling. This is where women are settling. He's a nice guy. He's not the most attractive man I've ever been with. He's not the best in bed, but he has resources. He's got a stable job and he's really sweet to me. He actually respects me and texts me back on time and tells me he loves me. Look, the statistics bear out the dual mating strategy women have right here. I'm laying it out for you guys.
Okay, when it comes down to resources, it goes from 6% to 27%.
There it is.
When it comes down to game, it drops from 30 to 7. When it comes down to personality, it goes up from 9 to 18. They know they have to deal.
You see the difference between the Chad and the beta Bob? There it is.
Deal with a personality long term. Short term, I don't care how annoying you are. You're handsome. You got game. Long term, man, your personality is annoying. So personality has a lot to do with it. Then you have status, goes from 13% to 23%.
There it is. He's a doctor. He's an engineer. He's a lawyer. I haven't seen this. I told you. Jose, thanks for the 10. Told you guys. I married a doctor. Oh my God, he makes so much money. Resources, 27%. He's kind of cute, like in a goofy way, 15%. You know, he's not that ripped, muscular, six-pack dude that bent me over in his garage with his toolbox. Remember that? You're going to get married by a woman that settled for you because you're second place at best. And she's going to be writing in the Quora forums how she got bent over by the hot short-term guy, your next door neighbor, Brad. Yep. Welcome to the West. Your job title of doctor, lawyer, dentist, all this bullshit's not going to save you. You cannot negotiate attraction. Looks, game. If you can lock those two down and then bring her into the fold for a long-term relationship, she will stay. She will stay for this guy because this is raw attraction, looks and game. Game you can interchange with personality. Game means she loves being around him. He gives her the tingles. Looks, that's raw attraction. She wants to please him. She wants to be subservient to him. She wants to be the, quote, feminine little housewife that does everything for her husband. Why would she want to submit to a 15%er in looks? She's only being nice because you got money, because your job title. Well, he is a lawyer. He does earn enough. I guess I'll give him maintenance sex every once in a while to shut him up. Can't mess up the bag, sis. Got my meal ticket for life. Here are the stats, man. I'll roll it up for you guys. There they are. Look, there they are. Take a good look. This is the difference between Chad, Beta Bob. Neil, thanks, brother. Money game is easy overseas. If you earn 20 to 25 an hour in the States, you're in the bottom percentile. But overseas, it puts you in the top 10 to 15%. There's no morality here. You can't see this as an evil thing. You can't see this as anything other than nature. Your looks, you can increase. You can get absolutely jacked as a dude. Okay, height will be against you. That's something you can't fix. But in the end, if you're a short dude, you got to get your body right, period. That's still attractive. Resources, again, doesn't matter that much when you're super handsome, but you need to get these up, groom yourself. Have a good paying job because status and resources still matter. They add up to something decent, okay? Game. If you want to be that guy that keeps her on her toes and keeps her tingling throughout the entire relationship, you need to have game. This is non-negotiable. Your stupid job and your status will not replace game. If you're a little beta Bob, if you're real stiff with your woman, not going over there slapping her ass while she's cooking dinner, not giving her love, the attention she needs to feel secure in the relationship, not playing with her emotions, and I don't mean in a negative way, but keeping it spicy so that she's enticed and excited to be around you, that's called game in a relationship. You don't have that, none of this other shit matters. She's always going to be intrigued by guys like this that walk around wherever she goes, in the store, in some guy's random garage, the work husband, etc. You're at risk.
And then age goes from 7% to 10%. So there's
Thanks,
a couple
Isaac.
different ways you're going to be listening to this. You're going to watch this, you're going to be discouraged. You're going to watch this and saying, okay, maybe I need to change my approach. Let me give you an idea. When I started working at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, and they said, well, the profile of the clients we're looking for is those that are $1 million or higher. Back then it was $500,000 or $250,000, but it was $1 million or higher. That's the clientele you got to be looking for. And I sat there and I'm like, how the hell am I going to meet millionaires? My dad's a cashier at a 99-cent store. I don't have a 4-year degree. I don't have a 2-year degree. I know nothing about money. My parents have never owned a 401k, never owned a stock. We've always rented. I've never lived in a house. You want me to go find $1 million accounts? How the hell am I going to find it? I just got out of the military here. People in the military are broke. My friends go to nightclubs. How am I going to find all this money, right? So I could have sat down and said, you know what? That's right. Financial industry is not for me. I'm out. Or I could have sat there and said, how can I get into the market? Who do I need to become to get into the market that I want to become, right? And I made my adjustments. I was 22 years old, 23 years old, just got out of the army. We go to the club. My friends like, Pat, I found this book. It's called The Game. Neil Strauss. Watch these pickup lines I'm going to use with the girls. We go out. First you treat them this way, you do that, you do this, and then he got the girl. It's like, oh, I'm like, well, our style in the military was similar way. I've just never read the book before, but it was effective. But what were we doing? Who were we getting together with? Short-term relationships, right? So look, some of you are watching this, you're getting one or two reactions. You're discouraged, or you're saying, okay, now at least I know what they're looking for. When you're a businessman and you run a company, you're gonna have 3 different types of clients. Low-ticket item products you're selling, 99 cents, $8, $28, $89. You got mid-ticket item, $1,000, $50,000. You got high ticket item. For example, I'm selling a rental apartment at Oakwood Apartments, $4,000 a month. I'm selling a rental apartment, right? Middle one, I'm selling $600,000 houses. I'm selling multi-million-dollar homes, right? In this example, if you, as a man, want to have more options and saying your clientele, I want to have a pool of bigger options of women to choose from, who do I need to become to be able to sell $2 million homes? Okay, what language do I need to speak to get the client that's about to sell their $2 million home to look at me and say, this guy can sell this $2 million home? Who do I need to become? What language do I need to have? How do I need to present myself? How much capability, skill set? What do I need to do to increase my market value? This is why a lot of people, 95% of people in sales don't make it, because they get discouraged because they don't want to become the person they need to be to sell those products.
Yeah, competition's in the gutter today, so you just got to do a bare minimum, stand out. I keep telling you guys, but the quitters will always quit instead of working on themselves. And it's not even for women. You're just working on yourself to feel better. I keep telling you the Spartan Challenge, align yourselves for the first time in your goddamn life, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Watch people gravitate to you like a magnet afterwards. Neil, the problem with these principles is hoflation, working 20 times harder than your grandfather for a masculine woman, 10 times worse than your grandma.
Products to the clientele in that market. The same thing goes with this. If you watch this and you said, well, if it's 40% of men reproduce, but 80% of women reproduce, if the options are that, how do I become in the top 20 percentile? And if I'm chasing all these short-term women, the short-term women I'm chasing, they're looking for only physical and they're only looking for game. They're not really valuing personality or for me to be somebody where I am somebody that has status or resources. I can go fix those things. Now, if you're watching this and saying you can fix yourself physically and get in shape, maybe change your diet, you can be somebody at whatever company you're working at. If you're a person that's got a voice, you become a leader, somebody that's doing well, you got status. If you're somebody that has a personality, you're afraid, you're shy, maybe you show your personality a little bit more. If you want to go watch some of the old Tate videos, there was a part of him that he was shy. If you look at the younger version of him, a lot of the people that end up having big personalities, at one point, they were kind of to themselves and then boom, they break out of their shell and they say, oh my gosh, I never knew this existed in this guy. You have that, but you got to tap into it. Okay, so now look, obviously a lot of this is directed to men. I'm going to talk to women a little bit, and this could also apply to men, but here's what I have to say about this. Because
Isaac, the thing that's painful for me is that if I were to have kids today, I'd be in my 50s by the time they're adults. Yeah, but you would get presumably a younger wife. I could keep up with them. Men have been having kids at older ages. It's not that hard. That's all in your head. You can choose to be a loser in your 50s. Oh, my back hurts. I got arthritis, all that bullshit. Or you can work on your body right now, stay in shape, and don't need to be on pills with a crackling back in your 50s. There are plenty of men that are in tip-top shape at 50, very mobile, and have a ton of energy. You can be one of them. Or you can be a bug sandwich. Take your pick. The insecurity of 50 was bred into you by society today. That's all in your head.
Some people are like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I dare you to live a day and walk a day in my life and all this other stuff. Totally get it. Here's what I do believe in. There are a lot of men who are bitter towards women. And some of the bitterness from men towards women is, they gave everything for her and she did this and she went with that guy and she left me. Okay, cool. Yep, that happens.
James, Bo, I'm dropping more. I didn't get a chance to tell you thank you for your time making content. I've been following you from the start. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Jose. Thanks, bro.
And then the other one is, I gave everything to him and he did this and he left and it's all his fault. Okay, no problem. Just so you know, it takes two to make a thing go right, but it also takes sometimes two to make a thing go wrong. You made the choice, I made the choice. Some relationship didn't work. What part of the role did I play in this thing here? And I'll man up and I'll take it. The same with you. One of the ladies that commented, I've known this lady for about 8 or 10 years. And I remember when she chose career over her marriage and her kids. And she says, I'm gonna go this route to choose career over her kids. I said, listen, man, I totally get it. Marriage sometimes doesn't work out. I've been married now 13 years, going on 14 years. We take marriage 1 year at a time. It's a very hard thing to do. It is not easy. You can control what you do. Sometimes you can't control what the other side does. And no one ever knows the whole entire story to any marriage. But she specifically said, I'm choosing my career because I want to compete with the men above me in this sector that she was in over my marriage and over my kids. I said, I don't recommend it to do it for that reason. I have to do it. She did. Today, she is so bitter. But who is she bitter at? Her husband? Her kids? Her competitors? The industry? Or her choice? It's pretty bad when you're bitter towards really the choice you made. Nobody put a gun to your head. Do you know how many times I've been annoyed with a decision I've made? And I'm so annoyed with myself. No one knows about it, but I know I made the choice. And I'm bitter towards myself for making a bad choice. That happens to the best of us. So, all this that we're talking about, this is really over younger men and younger women. This topic here that we're talking about. For some of you that are watching that you're a little older and you're frustrated about this, totally get it. But you made the choice. Nobody forced you to do it, for the most part. So if you got value out of this video, agree or disagree, but if you got value out of this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe.
That was a good one. My PBD.